are you normally reluctant to watch yourself on screen?
Yeah. No, I like to. You do? I always find it really weird when people don't. I think I have to watch it a couple of times before it comes out, if I'm sent it in advance, just to like get over looking at myself and then be able to take the story in. And then by that point, it's like, all right, it's cool. You know,
you can actually watch it as like just a viewer. You can just like kind of dive into it, follow story, and just like enjoy it, enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
that's
for the most part.
You're blessed. Congrats.
Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley. If you're interested in programming like this from the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And now it is my pleasure to have our panel of Emmy-nominated supporting actors in a comedy. We have from Ted Lasso, Nick Mohammed, from Ted Lasso, Toheeb Jimoh, and from Abbott Elementary, Tyler James Williams. Thank you all so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us, Jenelle.
Congratulations. Congratulations on your nominations. I know it's a cliche question, but I actually love knowing, how did you find out you were nominated? Some people like to say that they were sleeping and they woke up to a bunch of texts, but I'm not sure I actually believe that. And let's start with Tyler.
I actually was watching the nomination, I guess, ceremony. Is that what you would call it? And I was mainly watching it because I knew my showrunner, Quinta Brunson, wasn't able to. She was like doing some interviews and stuff. So I was looking for hers. So after she got nominated and the show got nominated, I was hyped and I just turned it off. Kept going. It wasn't until, a few minutes later that I started getting text messages from people that may not have been the end of it. But yeah, that's how it happened with me.
That's amazing. You turned it off. I love that.
Yeah, I just completely turned it off. It was great.
Nick, what about for you?
I was in the playground with the kids, and we were I don't know what we were doing. I think we were playing basketball, and my wife, we were kind of aware that they were going to come out at some point, and so she was secretly watching the ceremony. I think she'd gone to the shots, but she was secretly watching it on her phone. But I think she then watched the whole thing, the whole kind of 20-30 minute thing. But I don't think that they announced the best supporting actor in a comedy series as part of that anyway. So she kind of watched the whole thing and then sort of just thought, oh, well, they haven't really said anything. And then she sort of called me and she was like, yeah, I just sort of watched it, but they didn't say anything about best supporting actor in a comedy series. And then my phone started pinging and I was like, oh, I think my agent's calling, maybe. And so I switched the call and then switched back. And so, yeah, it was an absolute delight and a real treat. And I was so delighted for, Toheeb in particular, but also Tyler, and, huge fan. But Henry Winkler as well, I was delighted to see on there. And Brett, obviously. It was just, just a dream, so grateful.
I thought that maybe they didn't announce it in the ceremony part, but I was actually in England when the nominations came out. So I was all confused in crazy time zones. So I didn't actually get to watch the feed, but someone told me they didn't actually do the formal announcement on stage. So I wondered about that. Unless Toheeb, if you want to tell us differently, maybe they announced it.
No. I wasn't watching. I was watching Incredibles 2 with my brother. We were just vibing at home, and then my phone starts going up. My agent's calling me. She video calls me and she's like, "Yo, you just been nominated for an Emmy." And I'm like, "What?" And we start screaming in the house. Everything starts going crazy. I call my mum. She's in Nigeria. She's at a party. I video call her and she's like, "The music's really loud. She can't hear anything." And I'm like, "Yo, mum, I just got nominated for an Emmy." And she's like, "Toheeb, I can't hear you." And then she hung up. Just straight back down to earth. So yeah, she had to find out the next morning. I was like, all right, cool. Like, you chose your side.
She waited a whole day to find out?
She called me the next morning and she was like, "I heard the news."
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Parents are both so impressed by us and not impressed by us in some ways. I love that. That's very humbling.
Like my dad, I could do anything, and my dad would just be like, "He's good. He's good." That's all I get from it.
This is just an audience of your fellow actors who watch and participate in these Q&As. And I would just love to know, for each of you, what was your first job as an actor? The first time you either got paid for it or you felt you could call yourself an actor. And let's start with Tyler again, because you've been doing this a long time. For someone,
it's been a while. I've been a card-carrying SAG member since I was 4.
Oh, wow.
So the first one was Sesame Street, actually.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's kind of the best first job, I think, for any actor, let alone a child. I think everyone should start there because it's like the perfect workplace atmosphere. And like, you get to work with the greats, like Big Bird and Elmo and people have really been doing this for some time. But it was like kind of my introduction to the industry. It's been a great ride. And everything's been up since there. So so far it's going so good.
Did you get to work with Oscar? He's my favorite.
I did. But that's, Carol, who I think passed recently, was both Oscar and Big Bird.
That's right.
Just the diversity of like his instrument, I guess. And that I think was the kind of incredible part about it. It was like not just being able to work with these like Muppets that you saw on TV and like kind of grasp how that worked as a child, but then also seeing how many different actors played how many different roles and what they could do with their voice. It was just like really fascinating with me. And that's when I like really started to learn like, oh, this is like a thing. This isn't just something you just like do for fun. It's something that people get really good at. So it was a great way to get started.
Because you started at such a young age, did you always know you wanted to do this for a career, or were you initially just sort of having fun?
I was a really serious child. So yes, I took it like very seriously. Like I was making sure I was on time and like hitting my mark. And like I wanted to make something out of this. I like from the beginning, I had this understanding that this was a job that you could do. And from the minute I got understood that, I was like, well, that's what I want to do then. If I can like do this as an adult and, make a living off of that, then yeah, let's go for that. I just had parents who were, I guess, kind of adjacent to the industry because they were in the music industry. So they kind of knew of ways in, but didn't really know what that meant. But I think, yeah, from the very beginning, I was pretty serious. I was like, there's a lot of pictures of me at like 5 and 6 looking like a 50-year-old man who just got off work because I had just done 9.5 hours.
Wow. Wait, is that child labor laws allow that?
Well, I think that's the max is 9.5.
Oh, okay.
9.5, yeah.
Taheeb, what about for you?
My first job was a TV show when I graduated from drama school. I got this really cool like sci-fi Amazon TV show, and it was really dope. I had a tiny part, but yeah, like when I think back to that, like I remember being in my hotel room the night before, like we traveled to Manchester, and it was like, okay, cool, you're going out tomorrow, and it was just euphoria. Like I was just jumping around, crying in the bed, and I slept. Went on set the next day, and like everything was dope until they put that camera in my face. And I was like, yo, this is terrifying. And I was looking at the camera and I was like, that camera costs so much money. Like, that's all I can think about. I was like, this is so expensive. Yeah. So that was my first experience. It was a cool show though.
What was the show?
It was called The Feed. It was on Amazon.
Feed. Okay, cool. I'll look, when you said sci-fi, I got it. my ears perked up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Taheeb, I've seen that show. I must rewatch that. Yeah, I have seen that show. Yeah,
The Feed. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It came out
years ago
in America, right? Or I don't know if it came out in the UK. Well, I have no idea.
I remember being sent it for something. I don't know if it was like for a BAFTA judging thing. I can't remember. There was a thing. And I definitely remember seeing it, but I had no idea that you were in it. That's so cool.
I was just like one of the like the kids in the back
to try and dig it out again.
Yeah, bro, don't real upset.
Oh wait, is this the one with the brain implant?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I have seen that. Yes.
Yo, I'm just like, I must have been really forgettable. I thought I was killing it, man. I thought I peaked.
I love that we've seen it and you haven't.
Yeah, I should watch it actually. But yeah, I'll watch it at some point.
Nick, what about for you?
It was this BBC were doing like this sort of series of comedy dramas, or like 3-part comedy dramas based on fairy tales. And I auditioned for one, and it was basically a retelling of the Billy Goats Gruff fairy tale. And they had kind of rewritten it as if the Billy Goats was actually a boy band, and that it was as if trolls existed in the real world, and the troll was their manager. And the troll was played by Bernard Hill, who's kind of obviously incredible. And then myself, Matt Horn, and Paul Nichols were this boy band called the billy goats or whatever. And I don't have tons of memories from it, but it was a while ago, and it was definitely the job that allowed me to kind of quit working at the bank where I was working. I was sort of doing quite a lot of comedy gigs in the evening, but I wasn't really doing any paid TV work. And that was the sort of the first job that made me think, okay, I'm going to try and sort of make a thing of it. And it was so I just remember it being like, like everyone, just lots of fun. I think it was filmed in Belfast, and so I was away from home for about 3-4 weeks, and it was just a blast. But yeah, I must have watched it when it came out, but I've definitely not seen it since.
So crazy to me. I would think that you would be watching, maybe not. I'm not an actor, so I don't know, but are you normally reluctant to watch yourself on screen?
Yeah.
No, I like to.
You do?
I always find it really weird when people don't. I think I have to watch it a couple of times before it comes out, if I'm sent it in advance, just to like get over looking at myself and then be able to take the story in. And then by that point, it's like, all right, it's cool. You
can actually watch it as like as a just a viewer. You can just like kind of dive into it, follow story, and just like enjoy it, enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
that's
for the most part.
You're blessed. Congrats.
Actually, one thing about Lasso is we're so tuned into everyone else's storylines that kind of desperate to find out what happens. Because if we're not on set, I mean, obviously we get sent scripts, but and then you kind of can't avoid it. But otherwise, I would generally try not to watch myself back.
Really? Hannah says the same thing, doesn't she?
I find it's like listening to your own voice on like an answer machine message. It's horrible.
Do you know what I think it is? I feel like when I started acting, self-tapes have become like that's just how you audition. And so I got used to watching myself all the time and self-critiquing, and like that just became the way to do it. So what was hard actually was being on set for the first time and not being like people telling me, you can't watch the monitors and stuff. And I'm like, but how else will I know what I'm doing? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I kind of had the opposite thing.
Yeah.
And yet you haven't seen your first performance on camera. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. I should probably watch that show.
Watch it and get back to us.
Yeah.
Well, I would actually love to go back to the beginning and talk about the process of landing these roles in the first place. And I'd love to start with Tyler, because this was the first season of Abbott Elementary, and this doesn't often happen. Actually, it happened with Ted Lasso, so I'm contradicting myself here, but it was pretty much an immediate critical and audience hit. Did you sort of know, like, I don't know if the script came to you first and you read it or you heard about the character. Did you know from the beginning that this was something special?
I knew I had a shot. Quinta DM'd me during the height of like the pandemic 2020, and we were all locked in the house. So we actually were checking in with each other because we lived down the block from one another. And we were just like periodically checking in, making sure each other was like alive. And then she had said that she had this idea that she thought could really work. And she sent me the script, and I knew from the script that it was funny. So I knew I had a shot. But, with network TV, it can be, so fickle. You don't know if you'll be, in the right time slot, or if people will even latch on fast enough to, keep you up in the ratings. But when we shot the pilot, I don't know, there was just something about it. It felt different. It felt unique. And it felt like something that just clicked too well, too fast.
Yeah.
And I think we had maybe almost a full calendar year before like the rest of the world got it. And it shot off like a rocket. And I think, what was comforting for us is we knew that the episodes got better the longer we were together, and that we didn't really hit a stride until like 7 or 8. So when it took off in those first like 2 or 3 episodes, it was like, oh, I think we have something here. And it was interesting because you're right. Like the year prior, Ted Lasso had done the same thing. So we kind of got this feeling of like, oh, there may be not necessarily a trend, but we may be able to look at this and go, we may have a similar trajectory here, of those like kind of post-pandemic shows that have these optimistic protagonists that I think that the world just kind of needed right now.
Mm-hmm. And Toheeb, you've obviously been with Ted Lasso since season 1, but we learned so much about Sam in season 2. Did you always know from the beginning the role was going to grow into this?
Nope, no idea. I'd only read the pilot of Ted Lasso when I auditioned for it, and like Sam's hardly even in the pilot, so I had no idea what the part was going to be. I just read it, and I just thought it was really cool. A lot of it was, I think, the first episode of Ted Lasso's at that point were more focused on Ted and what's going on with him. So I was just down for the ride. At that point, I hadn't played Nigerian yet. And so that was the thing that was most exciting for me, even though Sam was originally supposed to be Ghanaian, and then I changed it in the audition and we just kind of ran with it and no one said anything. So my thing was just I just wanted to play a Nigerian footballer. And, you know, I grew up playing football, and like the idea of like being a footballer was definitely one thing on my bucket list. So yeah, I was like, let's give it a shot. And then it just turned into something else. Like when it first came out, I kind of expected us to find like our own little niche, you know, collective of Ted Lasso fans and have our nice little Ted Lasso bubble. And I was more than happy with that. And then it just started to grow and grow and grow. And then before you know it, like football teams are tagging Believe before big games and stuff. It just like became this whole thing and stuff. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Did they sort of sit you down like you're in trouble, but did someone sort of talk to you about what the arc would be for season 2? And, you know, that you're gonna have a lot more work this season.
Yeah, I got that in bits and pieces. During the break between the first season and the second season, a couple of us would play FIFA because we're in the like pandemic. Nobody could go out, nobody could do anything. So like Jason and Brendan and Joe, one of our writers, they were in the States. A couple of us were in the UK. Jason actually bought all of us Xboxes and was like, yo, let's play FIFA. So we started playing FIFA and FIFA became, our team was terrible, by the way, but it became our way of like mining information out of Jason and Brendan and stuff. And so every now and then you'd get little nuggets and you go, all right, cool, we're getting something. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Nick, were you in these FIFA games?
Absolutely not. No, I did not get bought an Xbox. I did not. I am not into computer games. I mean, even if they bought me, I don't know what's the latest Xbox 4. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what they are. I've never had one. Never had one in my life. Never will get one.
I want to buy you an Xbox.
So, I'll send it back to you. So no, I wasn't involved in those chats, but I count myself as very lucky because I think that Jason and Bill Lawrence as well had made it quite clear roughly when I was going to audition. I mean, first of all, I auditioned for Higgins, and which I didn't get, obviously, and Jeremy got that. And then about 2 months went by, and you know, I just thought it had all kind of gone quiet. And then they asked me to kind of come in to audition for Nate. And at that time, I think I was filming Intelligence, and so I did like a self-tape in like a lunch break. And if I'm honest, it's really shoddy and a bit slapdash. And I think I only had time to do like 1 out of the 3 scenes that they'd sent. So it looked probably really arrogant that I'd only done 1. And then, you know, fortunately got it. And like 10 days after, I think was the read through for the pilot and stuff.
Wow.
So it was kind of mad. But one of the things, and I've said this before in other interviews and stuff, but not that I was aware that this show was great. The scripts were great. I think I was sent the pilot and then a few other little bits and pieces from early episodes in season 1. But I was aware that in Intelligence, which is a show that I'd written as well, it's about like it's very different, very, very, very different show. Not as successful. But the part I play is like a sidekick, sort of quite shy guy to this quite brash, eccentric American who's come and sort of infiltrated this British workplace. In Intelligence case, it's GCHQ. Obviously in Ted Lasso, it's sort of Premiership football. So I was kind of aware that there was these sort of slight parallels, and I was sort of very busy with Intelligence. And so I did just have sort of questions as to exactly kind of what the role was. And they kind of very much were like, oh, just so you know, even in season 1, this character kind of goes on a journey. And then once we'd started filming, and that was, that really kind of sold the part to me. I was aware that the show was kind of quality anyway, but I just, it was nice to kind of know that the character was going on a bit of a journey, because you don't, certainly in British sitcoms, you don't always kind of have that. The sort of supporting characters are there more to, support those lead characters who do get to go on journeys, but the supporting characters don't usually get that. They're more, their use is as a constant really, and a foil for those lead characters to bounce off. So yeah, it was just a real joy to hear what they kind of had planned for Nate. And then once we started filming season 1, they pretty much outlined the 3-season arc really, so I could sort of have it sort of in the back of my head in very broad brushstrokes. But yeah, so I was very lucky to be kind of privy to some of that information.
I wondered about that because you see the seeds of Nate's I will say villainous turn, although I feel it's somewhat justified in what he does. You do see them in season 1, so you knew that you had to play those beats.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that was all them, that's all in the writing, and them reminding me this is important because of this that's probably going to happen in like a year's time. But just to kind of, I think even at the time they didn't even have seasons 2 and 3 in the bag at that point. It had all been planned, and obviously they hoped that they'd get a second and third season, but at that point it hadn't even been renewed, I don't think. So they're just very clever writers, and it's not not just Nate, but the plans that they had for Sam and for Rebecca, and just Jamie, just so many of the, I mean, Rebecca's not a supporting part really, it's a lead part, but so many of that supporting cast really got to go on brilliant and interesting journeys, which is an absolute delight, really.
I heard that, I don't know if they told you this in advance or you found out in the script, but in the last episode when the Believe sign is ripped by Nate, I heard that you were very upset about that.
Well, yeah. Well, it was the way I was told, because we were filming, and we were filming on the side. I think we were like filming episode 9 or 10. And so they're in the writer's room for episode 12. And Brendan sort of just casually said, "Oh, by the way, we've got this idea to have a Nate rip the Believe sign." And I sort of fell on the ground. I mean, I was being very melodramatic, but it was more because I think that logo, that sort of emblem, it had become like almost like an emblem of hope, really. And I'd seen it used in really genuinely beautiful and quite moving ways, like on social media and so on. And I was like, oh, it was partly because I was like, oh God, they're going to hate this guy if that's what you want to do. And so, yeah.
And I have to say, they did hate him.
Oh yeah, no, they were true to their word.
Yeah, because we loved him so much. And actually, at the last Ted Lasso panel, Brett was really defending you because he said he did not expect the amount of vitriol that would come your way on the internet, which shows how great you were at that part.
I should clarify as well that no one so far, 99.9999% have acknowledged that they hate the character. And that's correct. They should hate what he's done. It was a betrayal, like Toheeb was saying. And he's got a lot of.
It's betrayal. Yeah, it's betrayal. You didn't stand a chance for it. You didn't stand a chance at all.
I'm still holding out for this redemption, but I don't know.
So I don't think it's any coincidence that the shows you're representing are all multiple nominees with these amazing casts. And I'd love to talk about some of your scene partners. Tyler, Abbott Elementary has such a great ensemble, and specifically Quinta Brunson, who you have such great chemistry with. You knew her before coming into the show?
Yeah, so we had done a sketch together for a Black Lady sketch show, Robin Thede show. Yeah, so we met about, I want to say 2 or 3 years before Abbott really became a thing. And, from that sketch, we found that we kind of had the same brand of funny. We found the same things funny and, could really bounce off of each other well. So we would just kind of keep in contact here and there, sending each other whatever the latest deep cut meme was that we had scoured off of the internet. And I think, that helped build a lot of really nice chemistry before even landing to shoot Abbott. But then, I think she's really good at finding the pieces of the puzzle that'll work well together. It's like she put together an all-star team in a way of not everybody thinks, certain players would work well together, but she just saw what voices she needed for this show. And, the auditioning processes, from what I understand, weren't too extensive. She had a very clear idea of who she wanted. So it really helped us on the day because it was so clear. I had known Cheryl Lee Ralph for years because she had worked on the show with my brother. So we already had a nice rapport. Quinta had known Jenelle James for a while. And I think, Chris Perfetti was the only one that nobody had really been connected to, but he just fell in so well to this group. It was, it felt divine, but I think, part of it was, the way her brain works, her being able to hear what different colors she needed and what actors could pull those off.
So you never had any kind of a formal chemistry read with her?
No, not really. No. I know we tried to do something so that the network could kind of hear the words via Zoom, but my connection kept dropping out. So it just never went through. They may have gotten 3 or 4 lines consecutively, but that was about it. But, I had worked with actually Bill Lawrence previously, and Bill had called Justin and Pat our EPs on this, and had put in a good word, thankfully. Bill's a good guy like that. So, I'd been at Warner and ABC the last year beforehand. So it was kind of an easier transition since they had my last show. But I don't know, there was something about knowing that it was Quinta. I didn't really have any concerns. I knew that we could find a rhythm. I knew that we'd be able to, make something funny out of it, because we not only done it before, but we kind of spoke the same language in that way.
I mean, Janine and Gregory's chemistry is it's just so lovely, and people are really rooting for you. So I'm not surprised. Sometimes great actors just know how to have chemistry.
Yeah, I think any good actor should be able to find, a point of commonality with any other actor. That's just, it's human connection. It's about finding the similarities versus the differences. But I think at the core of Janine and Gregory's relationship is, support. And it kind of worked well with our working relationship because it's that, this is a friend of mine who I would love to see do well, who I think is really talented and really funny. And the world should really see how hard she works and how good she is. And it kind of mirrors Gregory's relationship with Janine in a lot of ways, be it romantic or not. It's that of, I'm here to support you in any way I can. Thank you for the help that you've given me. And I'm here to reciprocate that. So it was a really easy, segue into that for us.
Similarly, probably my other favorite couple on television, Toheeb, is you and Hannah Waddingham, who was just here saying lovely, lovely things about you. At what point did you sort of know that you would be such prominent scene partners? And again, it worked so beautifully.
I found it late. I think they told Hannah before they told me. I just kind of found out in the script, and I was like, okay. Do you know what I mean? Because after the first season, like Sam and Rebecca had kind of had a couple moments where there was a bit of chemistry, like when he comes into her office and the bit at karaoke where like he takes her jacket and stuff. Like there's a couple moments where you're like they're on the same plane, like they just kind of get each other and they're friends. And so people would message me and be like, is this platonic, or is there a bit of like romance in it? And I was like, nah, forget it. Like, nah, it's completely platonic. And then season 2 came and I was like, yeah, I owe people apologies. But yeah, no, once I found out, it was cool. Like Hannah and I are really good friends. And we dealt with the whole thing with like a lot of humor. Those are some of my best days on set. Like it was just so easy and so fun to work with her. And I'd been desperate to work with her. And so I'm really glad that we got the opportunity. It was dope. I think my main thing was I just wanted to make it work, like it feels like it kind of comes out of the blue, even though, there are seeds of it in season 1, but I just wanted to make it feasible. I think that was the thing. I was like, I didn't want them to just kind of be like, there's no way this, 21-year-old can start dating the owner of the football team. And so yeah, that was the work, but we got there and we did it. And some people loved it and some people are team Ted Becker. And so they hated us. And so, we climbed it either way.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was anyone against this relationship because...
Oh, no. There were some people on Twitter like, get this off our screen right now.
Probably didn't get it as bad as Nick, though.
Oh, no, definitely not. I was just watching Nick and I was like,
Yeah, I came to the rescue.
And Nick, obviously, Nate has grown. Well, I don't know if I would say grown, but he's changed so much over these 2 seasons. What has it been like to just get to play with everyone in that cast? Because you really you get to share scenes with everyone, and they're all so wonderful together.
Yeah, it's an absolute joy, really, and yeah, it's kind of one of the nice, particularly season 2, that because I guess he is, he's changing and he's growing in confidence. Whether it's sort of, a good thing or a bad thing is to be decided, I guess. But as a result, yeah, he's getting to kind of have scenes, with Juno, with Keely, and with Rebecca, who he would, in season 1, that version of Nate wouldn't have even dared to say anything to those two, and so yeah, as part of his journey, it did sort of open things up a little bit, and we get to see some of his home life a little bit, or at least his relationship with his mum and his dad, and obviously toxic relationship at that with his dad, and so yeah, it's and some of my favorite scenes, and I can't obviously give anything away about season 3, but obviously one of the downsides with Nate leaving AFC Richmond is that I don't get to hang out with the guys, and we're filming at the same studio, so we'll hang out at lunchtimes, and I'll see those guys, but I'm not obviously getting to act with them at the moment. I should be very, very careful about what I'm saying. could get quite spicy.
You're treading into dangerous waters.
Yeah, Toheeb, sorry, shut up. But the point is that yes, Nate has got to have like some really fun interactions with them, and have different dynamics with different people as that season 2 has progressed in particular, and even in season 3, and this isn't giving anything away because we know that he's at West Ham, getting to have scenes with Anthony, who plays Rupert, has been an absolute joy, and I'd obviously never had scenes with him before, so it's great for that, and I just feel very lucky. I think Jason said this at something, but you're kind of only as good as who you're acting with, really, and it is really that other person who is to blame, not to blame, but to kind of honor, that you're only ever as good as them, and so it's testament to sort of the whole team, really, that we get to have fun and do things like this. So yeah.
Your shows are so fun and they're full of so much joy, but I am curious. I'm sure there's still challenges in making any show and playing any character. Maybe sometimes it's just not laughing during a take, but for each of you, what does end up being the biggest challenge of playing these characters?
I think with Sam, because he's so politically engaged and so politically active, like there are a lot of heavy storylines to carry, like the Dubai Air one, that it just really means a lot to a lot of people and means a lot to me as well. And so I remember filming episode 3, Do the Rightest Thing, and there was a part of me that's like, this fictional TV, comedy character is representing so many people, and especially for me, because in 2020, like there was so much going on with Nigeria, and there were, like protests, and like the End SARS movement was crazy. Like a lot of people in the country were going through a lot, and as a Nigerian who wasn't back home in Nigeria, kind of felt, I was a bit torn as to how to help. Like I was like, is this going and like standing outside the embassy and protesting, or is it tweeting, or what is it? And so when I got the opportunity to do episode 3 and to say some of those lines and to make that stand in defense of his home country and to kind of call out the government, it was heavy, man. Like I just kind of felt like this is such a cool opportunity, and yeah, like your worst fear is to like make it trivial, or for it to not read, or even just for me, I was like, this means a lot. And so I wanted to hit home, and I want people to be engaged. And I was really surprised when it did, because, as soon as that episode aired, like I'd share stuff and I'd be like, okay, if you guys want to know more about this and blah, blah, here's the thing. And then like weeks would go by and there'd be like some lady in North Carolina somewhere sending me messages about Nigeria, being like, yo, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And I'm like, like genuinely, like it takes your breath away, like how much just a couple of scenes, one episode of TV can impact people and bring stuff to people who otherwise would have no knowledge of what's going on in this thing that has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that was one of the challenges of season 3, was just like being grounded, especially in a comedy show, and carrying something like that meant so much to me and to other people. So that was one of the challenges.
Yeah, I had friends who wanted to boycott Dubai Air, and I had to tell them it's not a real. Tyler, what about for you?
Abbott's it's an interesting show. I mean, we have a lot of hurdles that we have to tackle regularly that could be difficult, but I think we kind of take them in stride. One being the fact that we have that fourth wall break, which is really interesting because it wasn't until we got there on the day. I'd seen like other mockumentary style shows, but I didn't fully grasp that in order to do that properly, you had to essentially treat your camera department as if they were characters themselves. So I had to find ways to build relationships with each of them, and depending on whether it was A camera or B or C, we each have different relationships, so they'll each get different looks and nuances and responses. So I think that was really the one that I didn't feel like I could prep, really. You know what I mean? You kind of have to wait to get there and develop relationships with them. And thankfully, going into season 2, we retained our entire camera department, and I don't think they now can leave. I think we need to put them under actors contracts because I have relationships with them now. But I think that was it. I'd never really done work like that before. Usually you spend your entire career being told to avoid looking down the barrel. And now I had to find a way to do it, but not do it in a way that was kind of contrived, but in a very specific way. But thankfully, we have a great crew who's really good at their jobs. And, I'll get glimpses of episodes here and there. And they've now learned my timings, they can feel something coming ahead of time. It's not like it's in our scripted. Gregory throws a look of exhaustion to B camera. We just kind of have to find it there in the midst of the day. So I think that was kind of the biggest hurdle. And it took us a while to really find what that rhythm was.
Nick, for you?
I think I felt like in season 1 I had a handle on who Nate was, and if I ever had a comfort zone, it would be playing this sort of slightly awkward, kind of funny guy, I guess. And I think in season 2, if I'm honest, there was just less room for jokes as far as Nate was concerned. There was less kind of comedy, it certainly as the season progressed, season 2, and just more emotional, dramatic stuff, and that absolutely isn't my comfort area. So I definitely needed kind of almost coaching through that a little bit, and everyone was incredibly supportive, and a lot of the Jason, Joe Kelly, a lot of those guys are always on set anyway, and we had some great directors, and just making sure that it was all I guess you didn't kind of peak too early either. I think you always had to feel that maybe Nate was going to realize that he'd been a prick and it was all going to be fine. And we kind of think that might happen in episode 7 with Colin, and then he dashes it at the end. And then it kind of, just sort of, there were just so many kind of moments. And then when he blows it with Keeley with the kiss in episode 11, there were just a lot of things where it's sort of excruciating, and it kind of just then gets to the point of no return really by the time we get to the season finale. So making sure that was paced right, but I can hardly take credit for that, and it was challenging. It was just everyone else helped through that.
Sorry, look, you say that, but I thought what you did brilliantly was as much as your character had to grow in the second season, like you also still felt like the Nate from season 1. Like there were still moments where he fumbled and stuff, and do you know what I mean? Like I think that's the difficult thing with Ted Lasso, especially in the second season, is that so many of these characters got like a massive step up. Like even for Sam, it's like suddenly like he has to mature very quickly, but it's like he still has to be the same Sam from season 1. And I thought you nailed it. Like I thought it was really surprising when moments like that came out, because that's why I think that character is so particularly complex, because you still love that version of Nate. Yeah. Like the version of him that like fumbles and drops something, or gets really like panicked about what he's saying, and like you had that, and then you go and spit in the mirror and be really horrible to someone. So I thought you fucking nailed it, bro. Sorry, I can't
That's
swear.
you're very listen. That's very, very, very kind of you to say. And then just the only other thing that I did find not so much challenging, but I just had to sort of remind myself, similar to what Toheeb was saying, in that particularly because social media was sort of doing its thing, especially when the season 2 finale dropped, and I started sort of like scrolling a little bit through to it, and then realized that that's exactly what Nate does in the show. And I thought, I've got to put my phone down and just sort of slightly walk away from this and allow it to just sort of slightly burn out, because there were people kind of getting in contact saying that whole idea of someone who's bullied becoming the bully, that it was very triggering for them, and talking about toxic relationships with fathers and mothers and stuff, and just what that can then kind of create in someone. So you just had to take a bit of a healthy step back from some of that. It was mostly fine, but yeah.
I'm the complete opposite, Nick. I
Are you engaging with everyone?
No, I post pictures of me and Hannah kissing. I just like watch chaos. Shoot her up.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yes, they.
Before we go, we always like to close out by asking our actors, is there a piece of advice or something you'd sort of wish you'd known when you started out that you would like to give to our base of working actors?
No, I'd say to Toheeb on day one of being a professional actor who had that massive, expensive, Amazon camera in his face. One thing that I wish I knew on that day was that everybody is just as preoccupied with their job as you are. Like you kind of sometimes walk on set and you feel like everybody's looking at you and judging your performance, and like that's their priority. And it's like, no, everybody else has work to do. And I think once I learned to get rid of that, I could just be an actor and I could just do my work and I could grow. that like voice in my head that was like, oh, everybody's staring at you and this camera is this close to your face, was only ever holding me back. And so the quicker, any young actor can get rid of that, the quicker you can start to flourish.
That's great.
In a similar way, actually, but actually at the casting process, it wasn't until I was holding castings for intelligence, and so was sat on the other side of a table for the first time that I realized that actually that casting is obviously integral and so important, but those people who are sort of sat behind, I think as an actor, I'd always kind of thought these people are there to judge you. And actually, you're absolutely rooting for them to be the best that they can be, because casting can be quite boring as well. You just want someone to come in and nail it because it's one piece of the jigsaw that is solved. And actually, since then, I've tried to view casting as a very positive experience, and actually that these people want to see you and they want to see you succeed in this role. And of course, there are other people going for the same role, and it is scary and it can be nerve-wracking, but actually trying to view it as a positive experience rather than one where they're just hoping that you're going to fail and they're there to laugh at you and judge you in a way that's negative. That was sort of the biggest sort of take home for me, 2 or 3 years ago, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'd say something in a similar vein. It took me a while to really learn how to silence the noise. There's a lot of noise in the industry just constantly as trends change, and you throw in the whole social media aspect of it. And, there's a lot of things that come along, we think, with our jobs that are completely by choice. And I think going into castings, there's a lot of noise in your head. And, the more work you can do on you to silence the noise of everything that others have told you that you need to do in order to get the job or to be the thing or to fit the type, silence that and do your work. Just keep your head down and do your work. And the more you do that, the more it will be recognized. The amount of jobs that I didn't get, but that led to work that I did later, simply because, like Nick said on the casting side of it, sometimes they're just wanting you to do great and nail it, but it's just not for you. And that's just what happens. But that doesn't mean people aren't seeing that. People don't know that you do good work and, bring your best to it. So as much as you can silence any kind of negative opinion, including your own, which is sometimes the hardest one to get a hold of, the better you'll be for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. I don't feel bad at all now about putting you all on the spot.
Can I just add, Tyler, bro, I grew up on reruns of Everybody Hates Chris, and like for real, like there's a part, like shows like that are reasons why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. Like, you know what I mean? Like shows like that and Fresh Prince and My Wife and Kids and stuff like that was such fundamental parts of me growing up and making the friends that I did. And so yeah, like I know you were talking about how you were put through the ringer when you were a kid, but part of that paid off because I feel like there's a little part of that's why I'm here. And so I just want to give you your flowers, bro. Love that show.
Dude, that's beautiful. You do such great work, man. I'm like, with both of y'all, it's hard for me to kind of sit and just like listen to y'all talk about one of my favorite shows and like not be like, so season 3, what are we to expect? Just like not try to deep dive into it. But dude, that's like, we're a community at the end of the day. And you mentioned Fresh Prince, and Will was the reason why I knew that I could do this. I saw somebody who looked like me and I was like, I think I have a shot at this. So for us to be in conversation with one another, it was just like a beautiful thing. And hopefully that never stops and we continue to contribute to each other's community, because I'm constantly inspired by the two of you. And, to hear that it's full circle. It's really full circle. So it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
But also, Tyler, I mean, I know I said before we press record, but Abbott Elementary is just so genius, and my agent put me onto it, and I can't remember which episode it is, but the episode where you go to on the school trip to the zoo, is it the season finale when you go?
Yes, that is the finale. That is the finale, and we lose the kid.
Yes, exactly. It's my favorite thing. It was it's such perfect. It's so I can't.
Dude, I can't. I can
so
take
brilliant.
no credit for that. That's all Quinta Brunson, and I hope that everyone watching this and on this gets a chance to work with Quinta at some point. It's really a beautiful thing. I hope that if you have a chance, she really takes care of her actors and wants to give you great work, but the way her mind works is just so very unique. Every script that drops, you think you know what's happening, and it's just a complete left turn. So that's 100% Quinta. I just show up and do my job.
It's a great show. It's such a great show.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you all so much for being here on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. Thank you for sharing your experiences, process, and craft with our audiences. And have a great time at the Emmys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janelle. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.